What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Elemental Hero Neos deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an extremely nostalgic deck that can summon out Neos in all of its awesome forms. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 2 copies of Elemental Hero Neos. Neos is such a nostalgic card, and I feel like 2 copies is perfect for this deck, just in case one gets banished. But these cards are amazing and key combo pieces in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Elemental Hero Spirit of Neos. Spirit of Neos is definitely a 2-of in the build because this card helps you turbo out your copy of Neos to your side of the field. This card has an insane effect that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. And if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle. And if this card is special summoned, you can actually add from your deck to your hand a polymerization or a spell or trap card that mentions an Elemental Hero monster card by name. And during your main phase, you can actually shuffle this card into the deck. If you do, special summon an Elemental Hero normal monster from the deck, which is always going to be your copy of Neos. We then play a single copy of Aqua Dolphin. Aqua Dolphin is definitely a 1-of in the build, as this card helps you get rid of cards out of your opponent's hand. We then play a single copy of Dark Panther. Dark Panther is awesome to help you copy different effects, so this card is definitely a 1-of in the build. We then play a single copy of Grand Mole. Grand Mole is great in this deck as a 1-of to help you balance your opponent's monsters off the field. We then play 2 copies of Stratos. Stratos is definitely a 2-of in the build, as this card has an awesome effect that when this card is summoned out to your side of the field, you get to add from your deck to your hand a hero monster. We then play a single copy of Blazeman. Blazeman is really good in this build as a 1-of, as if this card is normal or special summon, you get to add a polymerization from your deck to your hand. Also, during your main phase, you can activate this effect that you cannot special summon from the rest of the turn except for fusion monsters. Also, send an Elemental Hero monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card. And if you do, this card's attribute, attack an event, and becomes the same as that monster sent to the graveyard until the end of the turn, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to use. We then play a single copy of Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist is great in this build as a 1-of, especially to work with your copy of Engage Neospace. But this card is awesome because if it does touch the graveyard, you get to add a hero monster from your deck to your hand. We then play a single copy of Liquid Soldier. Liquid Soldier is great to be able to play in the deck, as this card is a great ability if this card is used as a fusion material for a hero monster and sent to the grave or banished. You can actually draw 2 cards and then discard a card, which helps us out a lot in this build to dig into the deck. We then play a single copy of Prisma. Prisma is awesome in this build as well because this card is super cool to use its ability that once per turn, you can actually reveal a fusion monster from your extract and send a monster that's mentioned as a material on that card from your deck to the graveyard, and this card's name becomes that sent monsters into the end of the turn, which is a great ability to be able to use, especially with your copy of Divine Neos. We then play 3 copies of Crosskeeper. Crosskeeper is insane as a 3-of in the build, and I absolutely love this card in the deck because it has an insane ability, and you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to special summon an Elemental Hero monster or a Neospatian monster from your hand to the graveyard, but negate its effect if it's summoned from the graveyard. And if you special summon an Elemental Hero fusion monster while this card's in the graveyard, you can actually banish this card to draw 2 cards and then place a card from your hand on the bottom of the deck, which is a crazy powerful effect to help you dig into the deck. This card is definitely a 3-of in the build, and such a powerful card to play in this deck. We then finally play a single copy of Dark Armed Dragon. This card is so cool to actually play in the deck because it helps you go in for your copy of Armed Neos, but we actually have a couple of dark monsters in this deck between our copy of Shadow Mist, Dark Panther, and even Crosskeeper to actually get exactly 3 dark monsters into the graveyard so we can actually summon out Dark Armed Dragon, which is so cool. This card is really cool in the deck to be able to actually play because you can use it as a fusion material or you can just actually summon it, which is insane. So that's it for the monsters, guys. let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a one-of in the build to basically just stop your opponent from hand-trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. Then a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda's amazing in the build to help you search out the exact warrior you need directly from your deck to your hand. Then a single copy of Miracle Contact. This card is crazy powerful to help us go in for our different fusion plays, because this card lets us shuffle in the deck from our hand, field, or graveyard the fusion materials that are mentioned on a elemental or fusion monster that lists elemental Neos as a fusion material, and then special summon that fusion monster in our extract, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is great to help us summon out our Neos fusions. We have a single copy of Miracle Fusion. Miracle Fusion is a great combo piece in this deck that we can search off our copy of Sunrise, so we can help go into some really cool fusion plays. We then play 2 copies of Polymerization. Polymerization is great in the deck, and I really like playing 2 copies of this card in the build because it has so many different ways to search it, and it's a really awesome card to be able to play to instantly go in for your fusion plays. We then play 2 copies of Instant Contact. Instant Contact is great and is basically like instant fusion for the deck, letting you pay 1,000 life points to special summon a level 7 or lower elemental hero or Neospatian monster from the extract, ignoring its summoning conditions. But while elemental hero Neos is neither on the field or in the graveyard, the summoned monster cannot attack and its effects are negated. Also, it's returned back to the extract during the end phase, and you can only activate 1 of this card per turn. But I absolutely love playing 2 copies of this card in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Emergency Call. Emergency Call is great as a 3-of in the build to search out the exact elemental hero monster you need directly from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Engage Neospace. Engage Neospace is definitely a 3-of in the build, one of the most important cards in the entire deck, with the ability to send a Neospatian monster and an elemental hero monster, 1 from your hand and 1 from your deck to the graveyard to special summon a Neospatian monster or a level 5 or higher elemental hero monster from the deck. If you do, add a Polymerization from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is why I really like playing 2 copies of Polymerization in this deck, just to make sure I still have 1 to be able to search. But this card is awesome, helping you send your copy of Shadow Mist to the graveyard and 1 of your Neospatians between Dark Panther or Grand Mole to the graveyard, so you can basically use this card to instantly summon out your copy of the Elemental Hero's Spirit of Neos, so you can search out a Polymerization, then use Spirit of Neos to get you an additional search and tag it out for Neos. This card is awesome to be able to play in the deck, and also has the ability to, if you special summon an Elemental Neos by this effect, it gains 8,000 attack points, and you cannot special summon monsters from the extract except for fusion monsters the turn you activate this card, and you'll activate 1 of this card per turn. We then play 3 copies of Ian Shuffle. Ian Shuffle is great to basically just tag out your elemental hero monsters or your Neospatian monsters that you control and shuffle them into the deck, and if you do, you get to special summon an elemental hero or a Neospatian monster with a different name from your deck, which is a really cool ability just to swap them out for the exact card that you need. This card also has a really cool ability that you can banish this card in the graveyard to shuffle from your graveyard in the deck either 1 elemental hero monster and a Neospatian monster or just a copy of Neos to draw a card. We then play 3 copies of Neos Fusion. Neos Fusion is great in this build, just to help us go in for all of our fusion plays, and this card is one of the most powerful fusion spells ever created, as it actually lets us use materials directly from our deck, which is actually insane. As this card is able to special summon a fusion monster from your extract that lists exactly 2 monsters as material, including an elemental hero Neos, by sending those monsters from your hand, deck, or field, ignoring its summoning conditions, and for the rest turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters, which is not that big of a deal because you can always activate this card last to make a big fusion play. We then play 3 copies of A Hero Lives. Hero Lives is amazing in this build to just pay half your life points and instantly bring out a copy of Stratos to your side of the field, or any level 4 or lower elemental hero monster that you need to basically just summon out the exact card you need to your side of the field, which is usually going to be your copy of Stratos, so you can search out an additional hero from your deck to your hand. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing one. That's going to be a single copy of Favorite Contact. Favorite Contact is an amazing card in this build, basically helping you recycle your resources to be able to make an awesome fusion play, with the ability to special summon a fusion monster from your extract that mentions a hero monster as a material, ignoring its summoning conditions, by placing the fusion materials mentioned on it on the bottom of the deck in any order, from among cards in your hand, field, graveyard, and/or banishment. And if you placed an elemental hero Neos into the deck, neither player can return the monster special by this effect back to the extract, which is a really cool ability for our Neos fusions, because a lot of them want to put themselves back into the extract, and this card will stop them from doing that, which is so cool. But this card is definitely a 1-of in the build to help us go in for some really cool plays like Cosmo Neos. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start with a single copy of Elemental Hero Divine Neos. So this card is super cool in the deck, and an awesome card to actually copy your other hero monsters' effects. This card does require 5 fusion materials to actually make this card, but this card has a really cool ability that you can actually banish a Neos, a Neospatian, or an Elemental Hero monster from your graveyard, and this card gains 500 attack points, and it gains that monster's effects until the end of the turn, which is such a powerful effect to be able to use to basically just copy the effect of your copy of Prisma to get one of your Neospatians into the graveyard, while also making this super cool card, and I absolutely love summoning this card out to the field. And my single copy of Cosmo Neos. Cosmo Neos is crazy powerful in the deck and basically skips your opponent's turn, which is why I'm playing this card as a 1-of in the build, and it's so easy to summon in the deck just to basically just skip your opponent's turn, and you're usually summoning this card off your copy of Favorite Contact just to basically skip your opponent's entire turn, which is crazy powerful. And my single copy of Armed Neos. Armed Neos is why we actually play Dark Armed Dragon in the deck, because this card requires an Elemental Neos plus an Armed Dragon monster to make this card. And it must be fusion summon. If this card is special summon, you can actually choose a dragon monster in your graveyard and destroy all monsters that your opponent controls with an equal or lower level than that monster. Also, when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can make this card gain the effect that during the main phase quick effect, you can trigger this card to special summon an Elemental fusion monster from your extract, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is a really cool effect to have. We then play 2 copies of Shining Neos Wingman. Shining Neos Wingman is great as a 2-of in the build, as this card can pop multiple cards on the field, and it comes out absolutely massive, and it's very easy to summon in this deck, which is why I really like playing 2 copies in this build. And my second copy of Nebula Neos. Nebula Neos is really awesome in this deck as a 1-of, and just requires a copy of Elementura Neos, Grand Mole, and Dark Panther to actually make this card. And this card must first be special summoned from your extract by shuffling the above card you control into the deck, and you do not have to use polymerization. And if this card is special summoned from the extract, you draw cards equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, then negate the effects of one face-up card on the field until the end of the turn, which is a pretty cool effect to have. And my single copy of Brave Neos. Brave Neos is just a really good 1-of in the deck because it just requires a level 4 or lower effect monster to make this card, and also when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can actually add a spell trap card from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Elementura Neos and its text, which is a great effect to grab the exact card that you need off this card's effect. And my single copy of Aqua Neos. Aqua Neos is great just to get rid of cards out of your opponent's hand. Then play one of my favorite fusions, which is actually Dark Neos, and definitely comment down below which one your favorite is among all of the Neos fusions. But this card is super cool to be able to play in the deck, and just a really awesome card to be able to summon. With my single copy of Grand Neos. Grand Neos is great to help you get rid of cards off the field. It's just an awesome card overall in this deck. This card lets you once per turn return a monster opponent controls back to the hand, which is a pretty awesome effect. And I see a copy of Wake Up Your Elemental Hero. This card is great to help you OTK your opponent just in case you need to. And I see a copy of Sunrise. Sunrise is great to search out your copy of Miracle Fusion, and just an overall amazing card to give your monsters a little bit of a boost. We may see a copy of Infernal Rage. Infernal Rage is great because this card searches out a favorite card from our deck to our hand, like favorite contact, when it's actually summoned, and also you can tag this card out for your copy of Sunrise, which is great. And lay a single copy of the original Flame Wingman. Flame Wingman is really cool as a combo piece in the deck and so nostalgic to be able to play, because you can actually bring this card out to your side of the field with instant contact and then use it with Neos to summon out Shining Neos Wingman. We then finally play a single copy of Marine Dolphin. Marine Dolphin is another target for instant contact to be able to bring out to your side of the field just to get rid of a card out of our opponent's hand. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played an Elemental Hero Neos deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's super fun to be able to play, and it's insane how powerful this deck actually is at turn skipping your opponent using Cosmo Neos. So that's gonna do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.